Sorry it's been so long since I have done any live streaming or videos. I just got back from a tour in Belgium, which was the last video you would have seen if you watched them all. And I showed you a hotel setup, and I intended to show you a lot more, but I didn't. Anyway, today's video is about our favorite or least favorite thing, depending on who you are, thing to do during the holiday season, which is to play the horse whinny at the end of Sleigh Ride. Actually, this was my very first commercial recording, and that's all I did on that recording. If you want to go check it out, you can find, even here on YouTube, the selected works of Leroy Anderson by Jelani Eddington and the San Filippo Wurlitzer Theater Organ. And that is the CD and the performer, and me and two other DePaul students went to do the sounds that that theater organ could not make, one of which was the horse whinny. So I just sat there and waited my turn and then played the horse whinny, and we did about, I got probably 16 takes on that one, just to make sure we got all the parts right. So anyway, this is going to be a very short tutorial on how to do it, and I'm going to do it on both B flat and C trumpet because we play this in both band and in orchestras, and I think it's easier on C trumpet myself, but I'm also using some new teeth today, so and that's a subject for a whole other video someday, but so I hope I can still do it. Anyway, so you may have already seen there are many videos out there on how to do it, and if you connect with one of them, absolutely do it that way. I have not seen one specifically on the way that I do it, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about the technical things that are going on, and so that might be a little different for you, but let's get the video so that the trumpet is in view more. There we go, so you can see the whole thing. Even if it chops the top of my head off, nobody cares about my hair. So, how do you do a horse whinny? Well, it usually starts with half valving, right? So you want to put these, either the third or the second or the first or all three or some of them, you want to put them down some of the way, right? So that you get a... And if you just work on that, you can actually sort of get the tone that you want, okay? So I'm gonna mute this microphone so that we can work on the tone that we want. And I think you want the longest length of trumpet that's not too resistant, because every time you put down another valve, you're gonna lose some volume, and it's already pretty soft. I need to learn how to do it, but there's a better way to do this than on the trumpet, and that is with the clarinet reed and barrel. And once I learn to do it, you'll be the first to know. But until then, let's do it on the trumpet. So this is my B flat trumpet, as you can see, and I'm just going to get the tone that I want, and then I'm going to try to get the range. And then basically what we're doing is a lip trill over the partials that are sort of there, but a lot slipperier than normal. And we're doing it descending, which is what a horse whinny sort of sounds like. Remember, too, we're not trying to get an exact actual replica of what a horse sounds like. It is the expectation of what the trumpet sounds like doing this that we actually are going for these days, because we've all heard Sleigh Ride before, right? So don't worry if it's not exactly like a horse sounds. If they wanted that, they would do like the Doc Severinsen Christmas album and just have horses and push play on the sound, the recorded sound of the horse whinny, right? So they want a sort of caricature. So here we go. We're going to get the tone first. I like to put down the third and second valves in differing amounts, and you'll see, I'll try to do it sideways a little bit so you can kind of see. All right, here we go. So that's kind of what we're going for, right? We want that tone to be right. And then if you notice, as I'm doing the horse whinny itself, I'm using my jaw and my tongue position as I'm changing the sort of overall scope of the air, right? So we can try that in a couple of steps, and then I'll do it on the C trumpet and show you both. But so we can try just half valve the shape of the thing, right? Let's try that. Okay, so that's the shape. And if that's already hard, then work on that, right? It's very high. And the higher you can go, the better, because the closer the slots are to each other, right? The closer the partials are. And so you can sort of for longer because, well, they're closer, right? And there's more of them. So you want to get pretty high up there. If you don't have the range for this, then you're not going to be able to do it. But just the top of the staff is adequate, right? Let's do one like that. Right, that's okay. And it doesn't last very long. We're doing it extra long here just to practice it, right? So that's fine. But if you can do an octave above that or half an octave above that, you'll get a little bit more sort of area that you can work on it. So anyway, so we did the shape of it, and then that last one I did the wiggles. Let's just work on just the lip trill over the slot, right? So normally in my high range exercise, I do like a long fingering lip trill on a whole step. So we want to be about that range, right, around the top of the staff, and that's where we're going to practice our half valve lip trill. Right, and you want to get used to doing that, and then when you actually go for it, right, that doesn't sound like a horse whinny at all to me, but when you actually go for it, you're just kind of going for like that sort of yak, 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 kind of almost a laughing sound of the horse whinny, right? So you're not necessarily trying to get perfect lip trills or anything, you're just used to doing lip trills on these half valve slots, and then you're going to go for it. So one more time, and then we'll do it on the C trumpet. Now you'll see a lot of people do pressure-oriented kind of horse whinny, and I think their horse whinnies sometimes sound better than mine, but I'm just unwilling to do that kind of damage to my chops. Now, if you have the right dentition, you can really survive that, and it's totally fine. If you enjoy doing it that way, more power to you. I wish I could. But this is a sort of non-destructive way to do it. So, all right, let's play some C trumpet. And I've seen some other tips that I can talk about, I guess, like if you put your finger here so that you can't put your valve all the way down, then it gives you consistency. And I think that's really cool. You could even put it in between. If you're going to use 2 and 3, you can jam it with your first finger of your other hand, right? And now they're down exactly the same amount. But I actually really like being able to change it on the fly. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I do know that when I lock it in, it's actually harder for me to do it. So maybe I can demonstrate that. You can see my fingers. I always put my fingers way too far over the trumpet, but you can see my fingers sort of like change as I'm not getting the volume I want, or I'm getting too much back pressure. And as a matter of fact, let's talk about that real quickly. So as you put a half valve down, right, you're going to get resistance, and it's going to take away some volume, right? That's the face of the valve, right? When you half valve, what you're getting, if you don't already know, is these little holes. I'll put it in the, there you go. These little holes, right, are not lining up with the holes from the trumpet, and so you're just playing right into the cold face of the valve, right, just the wall. And so you're cutting off some of the volume of air that can go through, and that's what's destabilizing it in the first place. So if you do that too much, you'll get you can notice how the volume goes down every time I add a valve. So we don't want that, but what we do want is some length to the trumpet so that we can bring the partials down closer to where we want to be, right? So I want to put down as many valves as I can without taking away so much volume that it doesn't matter what's happening. And that's why 2 and 3 really works well for me. I like the third valve. It's the closest one to the front of the airstream, so that's going to give me some resistance to play with. But then I like the second valve actually a little more because it's a little further in the horn, and it gives me a little extra, you know, not too much, but a little extra. You could try 1 and 3 or 1 and 2, although 1 and 2 and 3 are the same length, right? These are the same length. So I'm not sure that it would matter, although it would give you 2 faces instead of 1, right? And so that would make it quieter, but it would also make it more resistant. And that's kind of what you're playing with, is you want the length to bring the overtone series down, but you're also, you want just the right amount of resistance to the air so that you can destabilize the slot, but not too much. So I like the second and third valve so I can really dial it in. And then I also have something to play with as on my way down. So let's try it out. I'll do it sideways here. You won't be able to hear it as well, but I will. You'll be able to see my fingers move. And I'm not really sure what I'm doing either. I'm going to watch this later and find out, I guess. So if I put too much second valve down, it takes away some volume. And so you could see me, I was watching myself because I realized I'm facing the camera, the computer. So as I had too much second valve down, I took some away, and it gave me a lot more volume back without really making it too much more stable. So let's try it again. We'll start with a little more third down and a little less second down, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so that's kind of how it works, and a much more in-depth explanation, not so much just how to do it. You also might notice that I ramp up at the beginning. I don't just start at the top, and that's just kind of part of the performance practice of it. Not everybody does that, but I think it makes it a lot easier, and the audience doesn't necessarily even hear it until it gets up there, but I find that it's sort of what a horse... Again, we're going for a caricature, not an exact replica of what a horse does, but it's sort of what a horse does. There's a before the actual neigh as they're starting up the vocalization, and it sounds like that to me. So I do it that way. It's also just how I've always done it. Not in a sort of historical way, but that's how I've heard people do it live, and so that's kind of what I'm imitating. But anyway, I hope you learned how to do it. I hope that this video was informative and helps you do it on your instrument. Try every combination, but I think 2 and 3 works really well on almost every trumpet that I've tried it on. And if you're playing some other instrument, or if you know how to play a woodwind instrument, try it on a single reed instrument with the barrel or the neck or whatever that instrument has, and see if you can get something like that. I would imagine that a saxophone, the first, like the neck and the mouthpiece plus the octave key would make a really interesting one. So anyway, please get back to me with that if you have any suggestions, and I will try to get pieces and try them all. Anyway, see you next time.